I heard it through the grapevine. You and me are just fine. And I hope that you feel much better than I do. I think on the day I left. Think that day is not a day. Hope that you feel much better. Do. And a one, and a two, and a. Welcome to the Sabby and JB show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. I am one of your hosts, James Fauntleroy. So good to see you, Sabs.
What's going on, JB?
All right. So everybody, just to let you guys know, the Sabby and JB show is every single Thursday here on RBN. And also your show is every single Thursday at 8 p.m. on your channel.
That's right. And you'll be on my show later tonight.
Cheers, folks. Also, if you guys have not already, go ahead and give a like to the stream. This helps us out to be able to reach the algorithm so that we may be able to get to most of you so that you guys can see the stories that we cover and be encouraged, inspired, and activated. So thank you very much for that. Also, if you guys like to, you guys can also join our mailing list at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com so you guys get emails, notifications of whenever we go live or any clips that may be premiering, which we have been premiering quite often this week. So you guys have that as well. And shout out to the editor, doing an awesome job. Also, if you guys would like to get in touch with us, you guys can go to revolutionaryblackout@outlook.com. So you guys want to submit any stories or even some encouraging words, we appreciate it very much. So thank you so very much for that. Sabs, let's say hello to some people that are in the chat, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. We got John Kemper, a.k.a. Blue Marvel, a.k.a. Adam Bashir. You know who Blue Marvel is?
The character?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Okay. Blue Marvel is a character. His identity, his name is Adam Bashir. He's a black man, but he's called Blue Marvel. And he's literally one of the most powerful Marvel characters on Earth. Let me see if I can find.
Why do I not know about this guy? Oh, I feel bad. They're gonna take away my Marvel card. They're gonna take away my Marvel card because I didn't know about him. I am so sorry.
Sabs. Oh my goodness! Shame on
they're gonna
girl.
take away my Marvel card.
It's a black character that doesn't have lightning powers.
Oh, I know, like Black Lightning.
Yeah, he doesn't have lightning powers like all the other black characters seem to have.
That is true. Storm, Black Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah, they all seem to have lightning powers. But yeah, that's Blue Marvel.
All right, so I'm gonna have to watch that video later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Blue Marvel. He is powerful. He can give some of these people a run for their money. I'm telling you. Okay. He can give Captain Marvel a run for her money. My gosh. Yeah. Blue Marvel he's the ish. I'm telling you. Yeah, he can fight Thor. Like
what?
Look at him fighting Hulk. Yep.
So how is he connected to Captain Marvel? Because I just saw the picture of Captain Marvel with him.
I'm not exactly sure, but I do know that he's one of the most powerful. I know Comics Explained did an episode about him.
Wow. Okay, I'm watching. That's my homework. I'm watching that video about Blue Marvel. I'm surprised there hasn't been a movie or a Marvel show with him.
Right?
Like he's the most powerful.
Like I know Comics Explained did one. That's how I learned about him. And they did so he beyond Omega level Blue Marvel. So this guy is ridiculously powerful. In fact, I'm going to put the link in the private chat for you. Actually, I should put it in the public chat too. But if you want to learn more about Blue Marvel, he is the shit. He's
Okay. I'm gonna have to look into this one. I'll have
Yeah,
to look
it's gonna
into
be
it.
interesting. Yeah,
No
yeah.
movie about this one. And we're entering I think this is the final phase, right? I think it is.
No, there's gonna be another phase. So
Yeah.
after the multiverse phase, then it's going to be the mutant saga.
No.
Oh, you, me, and Nico need to talk. Okay, that's what it is.
So they are bringing in X-Men. That is definitely going to happen. Okay, because I knew there were talks about it, but I thought Sony owned the rights to it.
No. It was Fox that owned the rights to it. Sony owned the rights to Spider-Man, but Fox owned the rights to the X-Men. But who owns Fox Entertainment now? Disney.
That's right.
So now, since Disney owns the rights to Fox, in the next Avengers Doomsday, which is the next Avengers movie coming up, guess what? Patrick Stewart as Professor X is going to show up. Ian McKellen as Magneto. You're going to have James Marsden as Cyclops. You're going to have.
But we did this story already. We already went through the.
It's bringing them into the Marvel Cinematic Universe now. So they're going to be fighting the people who from the Marvel Cinematic Universe now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Because I was about to say, we told this story already.
No, this is now them coming up against Dr. Doom.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing Dr. Doom.
That's right. But I still preferred Kane. I really did, because now,
Me too.
And I talked to Nico about this. Now the Loki show doesn't make sense. Now Ant-Man Quantumverse doesn't make sense. Like those things don't make any sense now. And even introducing Kane's character, it doesn't make sense now. Like it just looks like you're not really continuing the circle.
No. And my thing is, why didn't you just recast Kang?
That's what I'm saying. But see, I from what I read, the writers, didn't they have issues with the writers? Because from what I read, like they don't have the same writers. Like during the writer strike, some of the writers walked away. And that's also part of the problem. So they got new writers. And I guess some of the new writers that came in said, no, we're going to start with something completely different. And we're going to bring in Dr. Doom.
No, and one of the biggest issues, that's part of it. Another part of it has to deal with capitalism. So Disney's turning into Warner Brothers, where the money always mattered the most, but the story was very high in Marvel. But now the story has gone down, but the money still remains the main priority. So this is why now they care more about just breaking in as many dollars as they possibly can. This is why they brought back Robert Downey Jr. Because they're like, well, what sells? Because they don't want to take the risk. And as soon as they started to go with Jonathan Majors, and something happened, it was like, oh, he's too much of a risk. All right, let's go back to what we had before. Let's just do Robert Downey Jr. Let's just do a Tony Stark, but kind of evil. Make him Dr. Doom. And so all they do is it's like, I don't want any chicken dish anymore. So they go and, okay, we're not going to give him fried chicken. We're going to give him kitchen cacciatore. I'm like, it's still chicken.
I mean, so then I guess, see, now we don't get another season of Loki. We don't get because the whole time, like, the whole time travel and all that stuff, like now none of that makes any sense.
They're pulling from a different one now where they're going to try to finagle it. But to me, it's like, no, Kang should have been the big bad.
They introduced him in Ant-Man Quantumverse.
They introduced him in Loki.
And Loki. Right. Yeah. But for people who haven't seen the shows and have only seen the movies, I mean, that's where they left off. Also, what's up with this Blade movie? The Blade movie, from what I understand, was supposed to come out like a year ago.
There's been delay upon delay, and I think they're still going to go on with it. But in Mahershala Ali, I think is still going to be playing it. But The problem I heard was there was so many like rewrites in the script that's what's delaying it. So it's just.
I mean, they should have already filmed this already, though, because
it came out this year.
When I watched the explanation, when I watched the presentation for Comic-Con, what?
I'm still mad about Eternals. I'm still mad about Eternals too. Eternals. How are you going to have an entire movie hedged on them mining adamantium from Eternal Island, where Eternal came out of the Indian Ocean, and you're not going to reference Eternals anymore after that? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. I didn't think the Eternals was that great. Like I'm just it seemed like they just throwing stuff out there now. Like I feel like there like what is the point? You guys gave this whole presentation at Comic-Con and said now this is the end of phase 5 and then this is going to be phase 6. Like it was supposed to start with the Blade movie. Like I'm all confused. I can't believe Blade got canceled.
They're trying to capture the same numbers that they got with Endgame. You can't get that number. You'll never be able to capture that same thing again until you do another 10 years of movies and then cap it off again with another saga. The problem is that they're trying to chase that back when in fact they should be chasing the story and just making a great story. But this is the problem I've always had with a lot of these studios, and this is the problem with capitalism. They never want to take risks, because if they take risks, that sometimes it may fall, sometimes it may succeed. Star Wars was a risk. Lord of the Rings was a risk.
Yes.
Right? Harry Potter was a risk. James Bond was a risk. Hell,
Twilight, honestly, the Twilight movies were a risk.
Those were a risk. And then they end up being huge franchises. Hell, Iron Man was a risk. Who was a fan of Iron Man before 2008?
Some people liked Iron Man when they were a little boy. Like some guys said that they liked him when they were younger. But I see what you're saying.
Animated series, yeah.
The problem with the Avengers is that because the Avengers was so damn great, it's hard to beat that. Like I don't know how you top Endgame. I really don't. Like, how do you top that?
How do you top it? You got to just develop new characters. You just got to develop, characters that they haven't seen and go more according to the source material. The problem with the old studios is that they deviated a lot from the source material, and they didn't really do that good of a service to it. Now, then Marvel started to go closer to the source material, and so that's what made them more successful. But it was that they wanted to have just a good movie, a good story. The problem is that, it's like they're trying to chase profitability now. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Because here's the thing. It reminds me of the Wild Wild West movie with Will Smith, right? Number one, I never saw it because I don't want to see it. But number two, Will Smith said, I got my end of the bargain out of the deal, but the viewers didn't. Meaning that movie was essentially a flop, but it made a lot of money. So now we're in an era where movies are flops, but they still make billions. All because it's the spectacle of it. It's not really a great story, right? Like one of the best superhero movies I've ever seen was actually Big Hero 6. That's a Disney Pixar movie. And not everybody has seen it.
I feel like it just I don't know, man. Yeah. I feel like they really didn't think this through. They did all that promotion for Blade, and now it's not happening, apparently. What a waste.
It is. It's a huge waste. And now they're trying to do Ironheart, but that doesn't seem very appealing to me. And that's sad because, supposed to be, about Ironheart,
Yeah, Red Six said Marvel should lean into more grittier characters like the Punisher. Well, they had the Punisher show, and it was on Netflix, and I loved it. It was really good. But then all those Marvel shows on Netflix were donezo because Disney bought Marvel. So that kind of pissed me off too, because Luke Cage had those 2 seasons, and then we were like, okay, Disney owns them now. Is it going to pick up on Disney Plus? And even the cast apparently didn't know what was going to happen yet. And then nothing else happened because you had The Punisher, you had Luke Cage and Daredevil, the shows on Netflix, and they were good. And then Disney bought Marvel, and it's like, okay, so we just stopped the story there. It just feels sloppy.
So Daredevil is back. It's on Disney Plus. It's called Daredevil Born Again. As far as Luke Cage, I don't think they're ever going to bring back Luke Cage.
I don't get that. It was so popular.
Yeah, they didn't bring back Jessica Jones. They didn't bring back Iron Fist. So it's like, okay, are they bringing them back slowly? I don't know.
Disney.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty much done. Like, I think Marvel has burned themselves out because a lot of people aren't even really like into like the stories like they were before.
And
because
then
once the game happened, it was like, okay, we're done.
And then the Marvels, that was a bust. That was a flop.
Yeah.
Like that was.
It could have been really good, but they just.
Yeah. Because Captain Marvel, the movie, did really well, but the follow-up, the Marvels, was a big flop.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah. And so they got one more chance, and that is Fantastic Four. That's their last chance.
Oh, they better get it right because I've seen all the other Fantastic Fours. I saw the original one with Jessica Alba and Chris. See, this is the thing some people may not forget. Chris Evans, the first time I saw him as a superhero is when he was in Fantastic Four movies. Mm-hmm. Right? So it was Jessica Alba, Chris Evans. I forget the other two actors' names, and there were 2 of them. Mm-hmm. And then they came back years later and they made another one with Michael B. Jordan in it. And so now we're doing this again. So I don't know. We'll have to see, JB. We'll have to see.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that, I mean, the trailer looks good, but we'll see when the movie actually comes out. I'm not sure. But hey, that's the way the Big Newton crumbles. All right. So good to see everybody in the chat. Nice to see you. Nice to have you. Let's get into what we're going to be talking about today. We have an interesting show. It's going to be a reaction. Woo! Sabs, you ready for this one?
Okay. This is a good one.
All right. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to be talking about Black businesses. And I want to get into that because it is going to be something I think is a worthy topic. And so let's get into the thumbnail to show you guys what it is. It is Black owned enough? This one, man, I'm telling you. Sabs, let me ask you this question first. When it comes to supporting Black owned businesses, in your view, do you think Black businesses, do you think that's the end all be all?
No. And when we get into the video that JB's talking about, no. Because I think, a King of Reeds, that's what we're going to get into. He makes some really good points. The thing I think that people have to remember, he's focusing on restaurants when we get into it. Mm-hmm. Me and JB and King of Reeds all worked in the restaurant industry. Mm-hmm. Yeah. JB was a line cook. I was a waitress. Like we all had that part, that experience. And I'm just going to tell you, restaurants are a beast. And there's a reason why the majority of restaurants fail. And it's one of those things where it's like, I support Black-owned businesses, but that in itself isn't the end all be all. Like, you really can't afford to have errors. You really can't. And like, there's no such thing as a perfect business, but customer satisfaction is really that's really what drives your business. And if the customers are upset, then that's going to kill your business. And that's one of the big things that he brings up.
Yeah. I look at it like this. When people say support Black-owned businesses, to me, it's like, okay, support any politician that's Black.
Right.
Look into my eyeballs. Does that work out? So, yeah, you and I are in agreement. So let's get into this video. This is going to be a good one. Oh, no, I don't want to see the blue marble one. That's not the one I'm looking for. It's this one. All right, from King of Reeds. Woo! Let's get into it, and please let me know when to pause.
If Black-owned restaurants want us to support them, they need to support us and also support the people who work for them. Let's talk about it.
Y'all already know what time it is. I got the Black V-neck on.
What's going on, you all? We got to have a conversation again about Black-owned restaurants. I had a recent experience at a Black-owned restaurant, and I'll tell you why I'm using quotations later. This conversation has been had time and time again, and I want to offer some nuance. After the experience that I had a couple of weeks ago, it has brought a lot of perspective, and the news of all of these Black-owned restaurants such as Slutty Vegan, Bar Vegan, Turkey Leg Hut, even the infamous Darius Cooks, whose restaurant Greens and Gravy closed down several years ago. The list goes on. And although I'm talking about celebrity-owned restaurants that just so happen to be celebrities that are Black, I want us to understand that this issue isn't something that is exclusive to just celebrities. Black-owned restaurants have been taking advantage of us for a minute now. And I feel like it ramped up during the 2020 pandemic and all of the uprisings. And I want to discuss that. So I want to say that I do understand the anti-Blackness and how hard it is for Black folks to get capital, the struggles and all the things to own a Black business. I definitely get that. I've seen the conversations about the appointments with the hairstylist and the infamous you not getting your deposit back or someone showing up late and not providing a credit. I need for Black owners of any business to understand that you are doing something for community. And
Sabs, I saw you cringe.
Hey, I've been there. Hello. That's a big one. Not giving people their deposit back. If you ruin someone's hair, you need to give them the like nobody comes to pay for you to do their hair and to like ruin it in any way, shape, or form. And the worst thing that you can do is sit up there and argue the customer down instead of just giving them a refund. But I've seen this. I've seen that happen.
Oh boy. Oh Lord. Let's continue.
Also need for folks to understand that Black capitalism will not save us. And for the Black folks who own these businesses, you have to realize that if you truly care about Black folks, you'll be showing up for your employees. And a lot of you all have been taking advantage of them as well. So to bring things into perspective in this conversation, I used to be a server. I worked in the service industry for years. I worked in Memphis at many restaurants, Olive Garden, Red Lobster, Bar Louie. I was even a banquet server. So I understand the restaurant industry in and out. I've always been big on providing a good experience when I was a server. And that's just always been me.
Pause.
The thing that I am not understanding when it comes to these restaurants is that,
sorry.
I just want to say shout out to the OG, shout out to the Olive Garden, because I worked at Olive Garden too. We really need an Olive Garden club. Shout out to the OG.
Oh man, maybe want to get that tour of Italy now. All right, so let's go back just a few seconds and let's continue.
The thing that I am not understanding when it comes to these restaurants is that you all have a lack of care for your customers, and you nickel and dime every little thing because you do not have the capital, which I understand. It's hard for you to access capital, but the issue comes to me when you all are pulling up in luxury vehicles. If your employees are struggling getting back and forth to work, not making enough money to make ends meet, then you are no different than the white-owned restaurants.
Okay, let me touch on this really quick for a second, baby. All right, let me tell. What was it, about 3 or 4 years back? Yeah, about 3 or 4 years back. Mom, we were hungry, right? We wanted some soul food. We wanted some food from our folks. And we live in the hood. So we're like, all right, let's go. And we had a couple of extra dollars in the pocket, right? Because usually we don't. So we decided, we were like, what do we want? So we were riding down the street. We saw a barbecue shack. I'm not going to say the name of the barbecue shack because I don't want to give them no attention. But we pull up in the hood to a barbecue shack. Some big, expensive luxury car. Something, I don't know if it was it might have been a Bentley or something like that. I don't know. The car was well over $150,000. All right, I'll put it that way. You know, decked out, rims, the whole nine, sitting out front. And so we go inside, kind of hole in the wallish, right? I'm like, you got a Bentley outside, and this restaurant got a hole, looking like a hole in the wall. I'm like, you couldn't decorate it up a little bit more? Anyways, so we thought, no, the food quality better be on point. So I ordered ribs. I ordered mac and cheese. What else did I order? I know I ordered the ribs and the mac and cheese. And I think I ordered collard greens. Was it collard greens? I can't remember. Anyways, so I made my order. And they're taking a little bit, a little longer time. So I'm thinking, okay, it must be made fresh, right? But you got to slow cook ribs, so how fresh are they, right? And so we get it by the time we come out, and instead of opening it right there, we take it home. Sabs, I'm gonna tell you right now, it looked like they just cooked the ribs in the oven. It looked like they almost boiled them. Then after taking them out of the water, they just took some barbecue sauce, slapped them on there, and put them inside the styrofoam box.
No. And
here's the cardinal thing that look, I gotta put us on full screen for this one. Here's the one thing I cannot stand. If you're Black American and your macaroni and cheese tastes like doo-doo, what in the world are you even in business for? The macaroni, I could do a better mac and cheese than that. It was horrible. Like, what in the world? Like, that is one of the main staples of Black American culture and food is the mac and cheese. We created the stuff. And you mean to tell me you dropped the ball on that? And you got a car that is worth 6 figures sitting out in the front? So yeah, it was a Black-owned business, and their food quality was trash. And then the ribs were tough. I need to file my teeth just to sharpen them, just to be able to get the ribs. So look, I'll be real with you. Like, if you're going to have a car like that sitting out front, oh, the food better be that good of a quality.
That's right.
Otherwise,
sorry,
get yourself a Honda and improve the quality of the food.
And I just want to say, like, it's really important to make sure that you have some type of customer satisfaction. Now, don't get me wrong. I know some customers can be a pain in the ass. Do not get me
Yes.
wrong. I
Uh-huh.
waited tables. I know some people can just be a pain in the ass.
Yes.
However, quality is important.
Mhm.
And there's something that keeps customers coming back to you, right? Like if they know that the food is amazing and the service is amazing, they're going to keep coming back. They're just going to keep
Mhm.
coming. Even if it's somewhat pricey, they'll keep coming back. And
It's
so,
worth it.
right. But and King of Reeds is going to get into what happened to him
Mhm.
recently, but it's just it's one of these things. It's like you can't have both. You can't have bad service and bad food.
Mhm.
And even if you kind of have bad food, if the serving's good, the service is good. Some people might be like, well, the food wasn't all that great, but the service was really nice. Or
Yeah.
if the food's really good, but they're like, oh, the service wasn't all that kind of. I've seen people put up with like bad service to get really good food,
Yeah.
even though I don't approve of that. But you can't have both.
Yeah. Exactly. Like pick one. It's just like when you were a little kid, you used to play outside with your friends, and you keep going inside, outside, in and out the house. Stop letting all my cold air out. Either you're in or you're out. Pick one.
Yeah.
You know how your mama used to say, either you're in or you're out. All right, then get outside and don't come back in here no more. You want some water? Drink out the garden hose. That's a millennial joke for all of us millennials.
I prefer to support mom and pop businesses.
Me too. That's what makes this difficult.
So what makes you exclusive? What makes you different? Because if you're taking advantage of Black folks in the process of Black representation, then you are a wolf in sheep's clothing. So let's go back to 2020. I know some of you all do not want to go back, but we have to talk about 2020 and how we got to where we are now 5 years later. So back in 2020, we had the pandemic and the uprisings. We had the response to Breonna Taylor's unaliving. We had the response to George Floyd, all of the protests. If anything, capitalism is going to offer a solution. And the solution to all of these things was presented, hey, you all need to buy Black. You need to open up a bank account at a Black business. You need to support Black folks, which is a good thing. We should support folks in our community. Keyword community. We need to be investing in people who are invested back into said community. A lot of these things have been presented as community, and they're everything but that. So you saw Uber Eats, DoorDash, and all the other delivery apps promote, hey, support Black businesses. And for a lot of quote unquote liberals, this was around the time that Nancy Pelosi was taking the knee, and you had all this performative stuff that was going on with the streets being named Black Lives Matter and all of that. So a lot of liberals, white liberals, were, hey, let's support these Black owned businesses, and Black liberals as well. Like, hey, let's support. And it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I thought it was, hey, we're losing a lot of Black businesses faster than the other restaurants. Black owned restaurants didn't have the capital to stay afloat compared to their white counterparts. So they suffered. And a lot of those restaurants have not came back. We were losing restaurants before 2020, to be honest. If anything, the pandemic accelerated that. So now we're seeing these Black owned restaurants benefit from the protests and the struggle for equality. And a lot of you all have taken advantage of that. And I want to say that it's not all of you all, it's some of you all. We're seeing the conversation with some folks having issue with Black folks boycotting Target. And hey, y'all need to be out here buying books at Target. I need to be able to make my money. These people were never concerned about community. They were never in some called solidarity with everybody else. It was always about the dollar. And it just so happened to be Black. And now we're in 2025 and we're seeing time and time again, Black owned restaurants taking advantage of their employees. If we're being honest, all restaurants for the most part exploit workers. I mean, all businesses do that to a certain degree. Restaurants in particular, no matter if it's Black or white, exploit workers, specifically service workers, by not paying them a wage, a decent wage, or even a livable wage. They are requiring they make money off of tips. And folks understand everybody does not leave a tip. And sometimes it's
first of all, let me cover something really quick. The culture of tipping here in the United States actually started off as a racist act because the business owners did not want to pay their black servers. So instead, they put that on to the customers to tip or not. And so therefore, that's what tipping culture came from. It came from the exploitation of black workers. And so that's why we have it here. If you notice, if you go to other countries, especially in Europe, they don't tip. Why?
No.
Because that's not part of their culture. They give their servers a livable wage in order to be able to serve. Here, you have to rely on tips, which in itself is racist.
Not enough compensation for the work that they're doing, but the restaurant is, hey, that's not my issue. Do work harder. They even do this with the line cooks, if we're being honest. A lot of them, no shade, hire immigrants, which is no issue, but they can pay them less than someone else. They also have a thing I've seen plenty of times also working in the restaurant industry where they hire people who cannot get jobs somewhere else, people who have been incarcerated. They take advantage of that because they can pay them lower wages compared to somebody else who may be qualified because you're going to take this because you can't find a job anywhere else. So now
let's get into that really quick, because how many people, especially a lot of black men, where they were formerly incarcerated, right? And because they were formerly incarcerated, now they can't get a job at any other place. So they're forced to get a job at a restaurant. And because they just need a job, they just need something, they're going to be given peanuts. They're going to be given crumbs, for that same job, working in the back. Because I was a line cook. I was a line cook and a trainer, right? And so I'm sitting there along on the line with dudes that serve, a few years in the pen. And the problem is that I may be at the time making like $10, $11, $12 an hour. These guys are making $7, $8, $9 an hour, doing the same work as me, and maybe even better than me because they worked in the kitchen when they were in the pen. But now that they're out, but because they have a record, they're going to nickel and dime them even more than they do somebody like me.
Because they know they're not going to. Yeah, they know their options for employment are limited, so they're not going to pay them what they would pay someone like JB. In fact, the Waffle House is notorious for this. I don't know if everyone's aware of that, but the Waffle House is known for hiring ex inmates for line cooks. And people may not be aware of that, but that's where they get a lot of the cooks from, right? So they're not paying them much. And then I know, like when I worked in the restaurant, if I look back on it, most of and I worked at, like I said, I worked at the Olive Garden, I worked at Outback Steakhouse. And if I remember correctly, I think every single dishwasher that we had working at the restaurant was paid under the table. There was one, and this is another one. There was one time, like before I left Outback, one of our dishwashers was 14 years old. Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't want to believe these stories, but it's true because the dishwasher, and JB probably know this as well, most people coming in to apply to work at a restaurant are not applying to be a dishwasher.
No. And then at one of the last restaurants I worked at, the dishwasher, they were immigrants. They were immigrants.
Everyone I worked at, every restaurant I worked at.
Yeah. And of course, I don't know if they were documented or undocumented. It doesn't matter. But the problem is that because they're not from this country, they still get taken advantage of. Even the ones who are documented immigrants, they still get taken advantage of. And that's not fair either. Because the thing is, like, you have a dishwasher at the time making like $7, $8 an hour to be in that hot ass dish room, washing the dishes and having to carry them heavy ass plates, because them plates aren't light, right?
No.
Pots and pans aren't light. And the racks of glasses aren't light. And so they have to do that, for hours and hours and hours. And, sometimes you only have one dishwasher working the entire shift.
Yep.
When they need to take a break. Can they take a break? Especially when we get slammed?
I mean, we didn't have break. Like when I waited tables, we didn't have a break. There was no break when you were on the floor. Like if you wanted to eat, you had to eat before your shift or after your shift. But you couldn't take a break while you were on the floor.
The only time we could take a break was when it slowed down. When we, as a line cook. If we slowed down to the point where, we could take breaks, then yeah. But if we were, busy or we got slammed, you can't take a break. We can't afford that because then the checks start to run long. The checks start to run long, then guess what? We're going to have to start copping meals.
And those checks run long. Right? Like those checks, like those tickets start looking on a Friday, Saturday night. Those tickets start printing out so fast.
Yep. It typically starts around 4:30. 4:30. Next thing you know, people start rolling in.
Yep. And don't even bring up Mother's Day. Because that's the worst day to work in the restaurant industry. I mean, you'll make a lot of money tips, like if you're a waitress, but it's still like I remember sometimes like after working on Mother's Day, I would go home and say, but was it worth it?
Yeah.
And being a line cook, you don't get extra money. You just have to work longer. You may work longer hours, or you'll work the same 8 hours and make the same amount of money that you did the other day, but you worked your behind off. And it's like, was it worth it? Or when I was working at NBA City, when the finals happened, oh gosh, the finals happened or the Super Bowl. Yeah, right.
Or Christmas Eve or Mother's Day, New Year's Eve, Valentine's Day, depending on which restaurant you work at. Like those days are crazy.
Yep. And then I worked at NBA City, which means that we got basketball legends coming in there. I remember Dr. J came in. And we were about to close, and I was working the dessert section. And he came in and ordered a Butterfinger shake right when we closed. And I was pissed. I was like, I am not making this man no Butterfinger shake right when we close. They're like, he's a VIP. He's Dr. J. I don't give a damn who he is. Every customer I serve is a VIP. I'm not going to serve him just because he got a little extra money, just because he bounced the ball and threw it through a hoop. No, because the thing is, like, if I'm going to treat him better, that means that I acknowledge that he's better than some people. No. If I'm going to make you food, I'm going to make you food the same way I would make it for my own mama.
The guy who used to host Comic View, he was in Drumline. Do you remember the movie Drumline?
J. Anthony Brown.
He came into Cracker Barrel when I was working one of the breakfast shift, and he came back into the kitchen. And we're kind of looking around like, the fuck are you doing? Like, you gonna come back here and help us work? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Oh, I'm just looking for my server. I wanted to tell them, like, motherfucker, get the fuck out the kitchen. Because here's the thing. Customers aren't allowed to come back into the kitchen because if something were to, let's say a plate or a tray drops on their foot, they don't have on the steel toe shoes like we do. If they get hurt coming back into that kitchen, that's then on the restaurant. But that just cracked me up that he just walked in like that. I'm like, the fuck is it? And you know, it's so, yeah, because he was from Columbia, South Carolina. But yeah, he just walked in. And the funny part is only like a couple of us knew who he was, but like most of the staff had no idea who he was. So I think he felt some kind of way.
And also, people don't usually wear slip-resistant shoes.
Right.
Coming back here is a hazard.
You can bust your ass. I'm serious. And that is not a good fall you want to have.
Nope. All right. We can talk all day about working in a restaurant. All right. Because you can't find a job anywhere else. So now we understand how exploitation works. So we need for you all to up it up. You just can't say Black-owned restaurant and expect me to patronize and come. Do you care about Black folks? Do you care about community? Are you giving back to said community? So I had an experience at this restaurant called Rocksteady. It's an infamous restaurant in Atlanta. Everybody talks about it. The vibes are good, all of the things. And I didn't even know that I had been there before. I was taken by one of my close friends, and the food was good. This was around 2021, 2022. Fast forward to 2025, I had an experience going in, and they require you to have valet pulling in. Understandable. I'm okay with paying valet. I'm looking at the restaurant. I see the prices, and I know what I'm going to pay. With that being said, I also am expecting a specific experience. So if you're charging for these things and you're higher than the regular restaurants, I need for you to up the experience. I'm pulling up in a restaurant with a terrible parking lot, and you're asking me to pay $20 for valet. Restaurants that Rocksteady wants to be on the level of them usually offer valet and just tip the parking lot attendant. That's usually what happens. This restaurant, $20 to come in, $40 to get VIP valet. Y'all are not Lenox Square Mall, but y'all want to be, which goes into the nickel and dime and everything. Go inside. I love calamari. I enjoy food. All my friends know I will spend some money on some food. I enjoy food and a good experience at a restaurant. I don't mind. I'm seeing something that is unheard of in all the restaurants I've been in. $25 for calamari. $25. Any appetizer that is up in the 20s, it has to be on a certain type of level. Calamari is one of the cheaper appetizers. Usually the average price is $13 to $16, but $25 is egregious. And I'm expecting premium calamari because, hey, you're charging $25 for calamari. I'm expecting it to be better than what someone else might be offering for $16 or $17.
Well, first of all, hang on. Even still, even $13 to $16 for calamari is expensive. What in the world? Where are you living at, bro? Because my thing is, like, if I'm gonna have calamari, I'm not spending more than between 10 and 12.
He's in Atlanta.
That explains it. All right.
It's not. They don't even have the baby squid. The batter is falling off of the not even fresh calamari. Like, y'all charging $25. I'm looking at the martinis. They're $18. My date asked for a martini to be made with gin. The drink comes to the table and it's vodka.
It's chocolate.
And not only is it vodka, it's Tito's vodka. Tito's is a great value vodka. I have had it. I know what it tastes like. I don't have any issue with it. I don't drink vodka like that. So when a server recognizes that the mistake has been made because we told him, hey, this was supposed to be gin. We asked for gin instead of vodka. Normally, what happens is the server will go tell the manager or the bartender, and they will remake the drink. They won't charge you for it. In the service industry, you're not supposed to, quote unquote, comp liquor. So bypassing that, they will make the drink over and not ring it up. And the way they can account for this is restaurants know and have a number of how many food orders are going to be sent back, how many drink orders are going to be sent back. That is the price of doing business. Mm-hmm. Any business that's telling you you can't send food back or you can't send drinks back and all that, automatically, it's a chop. If you have to tell your patrons that you cannot send food back, you can't send all of these things back, that means to me that you don't have the capital to be able to keep afloat. And it also looks silly when y'all are pulling up in G-Wagons and Bentleys and acting as if y'all have money that y'all do not. So we get another drink and it's made.
Go ahead.
This is a big one. Yeah. So when I waited tables, they would not allow you to comp liquor. So if the bartender, messed up the drink, they're supposed to just remake it, but you don't ring it up. But there is a big difference between gin and vodka. So if the bartender, this is what I want people to know. If the bartender made it with made it with vodka instead of gin, that means that's 9 times out of 10, that's probably the way that the server rang it up. Because when you go to ring up a drink, you have the option to select, especially if it's mixed drink, you have the option to say like, okay, gin or vodka, and then what type, like Tito's or Kettle One, like that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So the bartender makes what the server enters into the computer. Mm-hmm. Anyway, if there's a mistake, just remake the drink, apologize, number one. Number two, Whenever you send out a drink or food to someone that they did not order, you know what's supposed to happen? The manager, whoever is the floor manager that night, they're supposed to go bring the correct drink or correct food to the table and apologize. A manager should have went to his table and said, sorry about that, yada, yada. Just FYI, just some front of the house rules.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, let's continue. Go back just a few seconds.
So we get another drink, and it's made with gin. First and foremost, to be charging $18 for a martini with Tito's vodka makes absolutely no sense. It is a great value vodka. You should be starting at least with mid-tier vodka. You're on the bottom shelf with your whale, which doesn't make sense considering you want to be this upscale restaurant, but you're nickeling, diming, and overcharging. Y'all are no different than the clubs and the bottle service at this point. I don't trust y'all. And I'm not saying this is something specific to Black-owned restaurants, because actually, Rocksteady is not even a Black-owned restaurant. Come to find out, it's owned by 2 white Haitians who take advantage of Black culture, who also, white Haitians have been known to colonize and take over and exploit Haitians in Haiti. So you are out here charging $18, $19 for Tito's vodka martini and $25 calamari. Absolutely makes no sense. So the end of the night, it's time to go. I've ordered food, the check comes, and I am charged for the martini. I didn't even raise any issue. I just said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. I just won't be coming back. I had to get the server's attention, and that's the last thing I like doing. I think the issue with this service comes to the 20% gratuity being automatic and the server not really doing the work to get the tip. And it actually hurts the service if we're being honest.
Flag on the play. That's a big one. That's a big one. There are some restaurants that automatically add gratuity to the bill. And what I have found is that when that is done, the server is less likely to give you decent service because the gratuity is automatically included.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the other side of it.
It's because some people, like myself, will leave 30, 35% if it was an amazing night. If it was an amazing night and the service was good, yeah, like let's up it up, because there is no limit. There isn't a limit. You have servers who are not attentive. On a service like what Rocksteady is trying to give, I'll give an example of Marcel's, one of my favorite steakhouses in Atlanta. They have multiple servers, and they have a server attendant that is making sure that everything is good, because Rocksteady is almost on the same level as a $75 to $100 per person restaurant. It might be 50, but when you get up to that, like 50, 75 per person, a little bit more is to be expected. And especially if you're charging $25 for an appetizer. So the check comes, I request a valet on the website, I leave a tip. There's a $5 convenience fee to use my card. $5 convenience fee. I'm like, okay. So with that being said, I probably have spent $40 on valet.
So just so people know, it actually costs money to be able to process cards. That's what businesses have to do. But I doubt that it costs $5 just to process one transaction. So they're making a profit off of the transaction too. So they're paying, like, let's say the transaction may cost $1.50, right? So they're making $3.50 extra off of that transaction too. So they're paying for the transaction, but they're also charging you to make more off that transaction too.
Yep. This is why I've been to businesses that do that too. And there are some places in Boston that if you ever come up here for the first time, I think in the North End, they were notorious for this, although I think they've gotten better. Some of the places are cash only because they don't want to pay to have that machine And again, like JB said, they do have to pay a fee to run credit cards. So what they'll do is they'll say we're cash only. So that the first time I experienced that is when I moved to Boston, because everywhere else I lived, I'd never heard of no cash only, especially nowadays, right? But JB is correct. They're still overcharging you because it doesn't cost $5 to run every credit card. So they're still making money. They're paying the fee to use the machine, but they're still making money at the same time.
Yep. And this is also true. Stoop Sign says American Express is often charged more to the restaurant than other credit cards. Yes, this is not just restaurants. American Express, when I was working at a furniture store, American Express also charges for other stores too.
Yeah, and another one, Timothy, I despise mandatory valet. That's another thing. I don't think valet should be forced upon people. I think if they want to do it, they should have the option if they want to, but they shouldn't be forced to pay for valet. Right? Like it just, that is something weird I did notice about Atlanta. You know, I've been to Atlanta multiple times, and some of the restaurants that have big ass parking lot, for whatever reason, it's still valet only. I'm like, really? No, I'm dead serious. Some of the restaurants that have a big parking lot is still valet only.
Golly, man, I'm telling you, some of these people nickel and dime for everything. All right.
$25 for valet and $7 for the tip to the valet attendant. I leave to go get my vehicle, and then I find out that, hey, from the valet attendant says, hey, we do not receive the tips that y'all leave on the card. We don't get those. And some people might argue that he might be lying to get extra money or whatever. I believe it. I've been to a couple of restaurants and have asked, hey, if I leave a tip, who does it go to? And they'll say, hey, we get paid hourly. We don't get the tips. Even delivery service apps have been called out for doing egregious stuff like this. If you leave a tip that is higher than normal, they will lower the pay for the DoorDasher. Stealing wages, basically stealing wages. And I believe it. Like, it's not something that's specific to restaurants. Everybody does it. Again, we're talking about capitalism. So I then send a cash app to the valet attendant for $15. I will never be coming back to this restaurant, though, and I feel bad for him not receiving his tip. But this is nothing that is unheard of. As we pay attention to all of the other restaurants that have closed or have had legal issues, like Bar Vegan, owned by Pinky Cole, where her employees sued her for wage theft. Some of their tips were withheld. And this is nothing that is exclusive to Pinky Cole as Slutty Vegan and even Bar Vegan. We go to restaurants that are owned by you all, and y'all are charging 20-30% more than everybody else. That's the reason why Spellman decided to get rid of Slutty Vegan inside of Spellman, because it was too expensive. It makes no sense. Like, you are a Black-owned restaurant, but you're exploiting us and the workers. For what?
Pause.
For you to be pulling up to...
I think Slutty Vegan, I'm glad he mentioned that one. I think the problem with Slutty Vegan is that it grew too fast. I really do. Because like the moment I saw Slutty Vegan on the Today Show, I was like, uh-oh, they about to grow really fast. You know what I mean? Because like when I first heard about it, it was like a food truck. And similar to Shake Shack. Shake Shack used to be just a food truck in New York City. And then word got out. And then all it takes is for someone to write an article about it. And the word gets out. And then what oftentimes will happen is the business owners say, okay, well, I want to expand and I want to have more like Slutty Vegan locations. And they're not really ready for it. Because here's the thing, like when you start to do that and you say, I'm going to open up multiple locations, that means you have to have more staff. That means you got to pay more people. You know? Go ahead, JB.
Well, on top of that, also, you need the capital in order to be able to open more restaurants, which means that you're going to be going into more debt with the banks in order to do so. It's not, you know, I'm going to be honest with you. Like if I was a restaurant owner, you know, in the traditional capitalist sense, the smartest thing to do would be just to, you know, start putting, you know, squirreling money away. If I wanted to open another one, I would try to do it as debt free as possible. But the problem is that they want to do it now. And so they'll get into debt with a bank in order to do that. But then what if that location is not making, you know, as much as it should? well, then they're going to start nickel and diming and start exploiting people even more in order to make more money so that they can pay that loan back. And so that's part of the system.
Yeah, because what does well in one location doesn't mean it's going to do well in another location. And see, that's something people you just kind of find out from experience.
Yep. Absolutely.
To open up another restaurant under another name and with a Bentley sitting outside that somebody just so happened to steal. Like, I have a question for y'all because y'all ethics seem to be messed up. Moving on to Texas with Turkey Leg Hut, who had a history of talking down to Black patrons, requesting all types of things for them to come in and sit down at his restaurant. Now we're finding out that the FBI is investigating him for arson, for paying people to set his restaurant on fire, for insurance scam, for insurance fraud. Like, you're fraud. And a lot of y'all are fraudulent. And I don't trust y'all. I don't trust Black capitalists. And y'all have been hiding under Black exceptionalism and Black excellence and support Black when y'all don't care about Black folks.
Oh. Wait. We got to go full stream for this one, baby, because let me tell you right now, when people go support Black businesses, I'm like, oh, so like Fenty Beauty that's owned by Rihanna? Or you mean like any of the companies that Oprah Winfrey owns? Or are you talking about Tyler Perry Studios? You talking about those Black businesses? Look, are we going to talk about it? We're going to talk about it because here's the thing. Let's keep it a buck. Just because they're Black owned doesn't mean they still don't exploit. Because we've also had people who were overseers and who backed up the slave owners back in the day, who also helped exploit some of their own people. So, and here's the thing. That don't matter because we still got people who are FBA, who are business owners that will exploit too. It don't matter. Whether they're FBA, whether they're Black immigrants, whatever, it doesn't matter. The problem is that people under capitalism, Black capitalism, even Black American capitalism still will not save us. It don't matter. Jay-Z, Black American.
I'll say Tyler Perry has exploited a lot of people.
Yeah, look, just ask Taraji P. Henson about Tyler Perry
and Oprah.
Winfrey.
Yeah, and it just yeah. I mean, people don't become billionaires without exploiting other people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that gets on my nerves because a lot of times people will be like, "Oh, support Black businesses," and I'm like, "Okay, I would like to support you, but you also need to deal fairly with your own people. If you're not going to deal fairly with your own people, then why the hell am I going to support you? What? Because it's just like what he's been asking. What makes you different than the white owners? What makes you different?
What makes you different? Sorry, it's so I think sometimes, it, and can I just say this? Sometimes I think businesses that start small should just remain small. And I think what happens is people, they get the attention and they're like, okay, I want to expand and make more money. But sometimes that expansion could be your doom. Like it does not work for everybody. If like to JB point, if you don't have the capital and you don't have the staff to keep that afloat, multiple locations, etc. Like I said, there's a reason why most restaurants fail. The restaurant industry is a beast. Number one, you have to make food and the food has to be good. Number two, you have to have good service. I would say great, but I think people want it to at least be good. You know what I mean? And those two things. Then there's all the overhead, everything else that you have to pay for. You also got to pass the health inspections. Don't forget about those. There's a letter that sits on the window of your restaurant. You got to meet those expectations. You have to hire cooks. You have to have, people wash the dishes. You got to have servers. You got to buy all the equipment to make the food, etc. It's expensive And I've watched a number of people start a restaurant and I've watched it fail. And and like I said, like you can have a great idea, but it's like in order for a restaurant to succeed, it's like you have to have all the pieces in the universe have to come together. You also have to have the right location for the type of clientele. So for example, when I was in college, all the restaurants around campus were cheap. Imagine if there was a expensive, fancy restaurant right across the street from our college campus. Probably not the best location for you. You know what I mean? So it's things like that. And what you'll notice is what works in one neighborhood may not necessarily work in another. What works well in the Bronx may not work well in Midtown Manhattan. And and I think research needs to be done before there is going to be expansion and things like that. And I don't know, man.
And
It's
also,
hard.
a lot of people you need to regard, and when it comes to being Black in this country and owning a business, also the people, the landlords over business parcels that may rent to you for your business, are they upcharging you because you're Black? You also have to consider that too. If you're renting your space, also on top of it, the places that supply cleaning supplies to you, like Ecolabs, are they also upcharging you when it comes to your account versus they do the white-owned businesses? Also, Cisco, US Foods, and all these other food suppliers, are they charging you a little bit more for the food that they ship to your restaurant versus the other people, other white people that they charge to as well? Because look, they will supply your restaurant, but the thing is, are they charging you a little bit more for that can of peanut butter or for that olive oil? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hate
Also,
to say it, but I feel like a lot of these businesses that started out as a food truck was probably better off staying as a food truck.
That's true.
Because you see the different, and I'm gonna keep it real. Shake Shack is a great example. The quality of Shake Shack has gone down. It's gone down over the years because it's not uncommon for that to happen when it expands and they start to have all these different locations. Like the quality is not going to be, you know what I mean? Wahlburgers here in Massachusetts, they started opening other locations across the country too. But from what I understand, the other locations don't compare to the original location here in Massachusetts over near Hingham. So it's like the original one tend to be the best. So sometimes you may have a great like food truck and it's doing really well, but just because it's doing really well, that doesn't mean you need to try to open all these different locations of that same food business, because I just feel like a lot of people open restaurants and they end up going into debt.
Yeah.
Because it's a really tough business to go into. I mean, like people are judging you not just by your food, but also by your service and your speediness, because people are willing to deal with the long wait if the food is great and the service is great. People are not willing to deal with the long wait if the food isn't great, and the service isn't great. Then people just get pissed. Also, comps. And this is another thing, another front of the house issue. The more you have to comp, the worse that is for your business.
Absolutely. Boy, this is
If you care, you will be doing more for your community. And I'm not talking about giving $500 to the local whatever. Pay your employees at the very least. If you're charging me 20-30% more for food that other restaurants are not, pay your employees more. You should be setting the standard higher. I don't want to hear, well, other restaurants do it. Okay, so what sets you apart? Because you are relying off of support Black, and that's just not to Black-owned restaurants. That's to Black businesses in general. Like, you all have to step it up. You all need to appreciate your people coming in. I'll give you an example. I went to Crew Lounge a few years ago, Portia's baby daddy's lounge in Atlanta, and did not have the best experience. But I will say, Dennis recognized that I did not have a good experience and comped, brung me a bottle out. That's how you do it. Make people feel like, hey, this person appreciates my business. You all
So this goes into one of the reasons why I support, worker co-ops so much, because you won't have to worry about, making sure your employees are compensated if all the employees collectively own the business.
Yep.
This is why I say Black people, especially Black Americans, get into worker-owned cooperatives. Stop trying to work for another person. Get together collectively and do worker-owned cooperatives. And then that money stays in the community too, because then you will have some owner that wants to get out of the hood. They get out of the hood and they take the money out the hood with them.
I was just going to say something else too. If you don't own the property, because a lot of times like people are renting or leasing the building that they're operating in. So it's like, it's not just enough. And I know I may sound picky, but I'm just thinking down the road. It's not just enough just to own the building. Do you own the land that the business is on? Do you own the actual brick and mortar, and do you own the land?
Yeah.
Because if you don't own the land, whoever owns it, I don't know what kind of agreement you got with them, but you're basically leasing it. And that's another thing. You may just come out cheaper just by owning the land and owning the brick and mortar. Timothy has a good point here. He said, by the way, Slutty Vegan and Bar Vegan aren't doing all that well. So she opened up another concept of vegan sub sandwich shop. So see, this is another example. If the business that you have isn't doing well, instead of opening another business, why not? You get me, JB?
Yeah. Just improve the one you have instead of opening another. Instead of having to take out more loans for another concept, instead of having to grab more employees for another restaurant, instead of having to have another brick and mortar, instead of having another rent to pay, just improve the one you got and then work with that. And if it has a not so great reputation, change the reputation.
Yeah.
I
just feel like you're dragging yourself into restaurant debt. Like, I feel like that's what happened. I started this business, it's not doing well. This restaurant opened this other one. Oh, that one's not doing well. So now I'm going to open up a new concept to hopefully counter these other two, and that'll make up the difference. No, you're driving yourself into restaurant debt. Nobody wants to go into restaurant debt. It's not pretty there. No. And it's hard to get out of it. And now you owe the banks all these different loans. It's like using a credit card to pay off another credit card. I caution people about that too. Yeah. Because now you just transferred the debt to another card, right? So I don't know. And maybe we need to have a bigger, conversation about this, but it seems almost as like that's trying to dig yourself out of a hole. You're doing that to try to dig yourself out of the hole, but you're actually digging a deeper hole.
That's what people call robbing Peter to pay Paul. It don't work. Stick with what you got and improve on that.
Because I'll be the first to tell you, when the economy goes bad, what do people stop doing? Going out to eat.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna start getting them cup of noodles. Getting them cup of noodles and getting that roasted chicken from Walmart. Shred that chicken up.
Hey, don't hate on Top Ramen.
No, Top Ramen. In that roasted chicken from Walmart. Hey, got some good eating right there. Add a little bit of hot sauce to it, just to spice it up. Get some Nat Franks.
Want to be glazed. Y'all are doing this for ego. That's why y'all want to pull up in y'all G-Wagons and your Bentleys up in the front. Makes no sense. Shout out to one of my managers at Olive Garden some years ago. Y'all remember those days where my manager, Miss Shirley, miss her dearly, very sweet woman. She got on my nerves, but she told us, hey, you don't park in the front. The front is for guests. What does it look like you parking in the front and the guests don't have parking that's close to the store?
Oh, and that's the thing with the barbecue shack. Girl, let me tell you, he had his $100,000 something car parked right in the front where it should have been for patrons.
Right. We were never allowed to park in the front of the restaurant. That was not employee parking.
Mm-hmm. Yup, absolutely. It says she's dropping gems. Yes, she was. You don't park in the front. You park in the back
No.
like everybody else. I don't care if you own the restaurant. You park in the back. Plus, if I got a really expensive car, I don't want everybody to know what I got.
I know, right? Hey,
Oh,
is that your car?
Lord.
Hell no.
They'll need to know what I got. Why do you want people to glaze you so bad? Because once people start glazing you, they start robbing your ass.
Oh.
Right? Golly, man. This is why people got to be street smart, man. Anyway, let's continue.
You all don't care about that.
Mm-mm.
Y'all want us to see that y'all rich, and y'all are not. Because if you were rich, you'll be taking care of your employees.
Mm.
If you were rich, you'll be taking, I would think, because that's what we're at. Hey, support Black. When all y'all doing is exploitation. All y'all are doing is exploitation. And when that's not enough, y'all are resorting to scams and insurance fraud. I was in the middle of getting my hair washed to get a retwist, and one of Darius Cook's former employees at Greens and Gravy stopped me and said, hey, do you know Darius Cooks did not pay us the last 2 paychecks? He just closed the restaurant down. And again, this is nothing that is specific to Black-owned restaurants, because Bahama Breeze just closed its doors not too long ago and didn't even inform the employees. So again, I'm asking the question, what makes you different? If you are exploiting your workers, you're doing all of this, then why do you need to stay up? Why is that? What makes you different that you're Black-owned? That's not enough. And it shouldn't be enough for us. We should be requesting more. When it comes to these clubs, I'm not going to a club that security is talking to me any type of way. I'm not going to be dealing with that. I'm leaving. Girl, we are in the middle of a 4-year recession right now. Money is tight. The girls ain't even paying their Klarna bills no more. They never had it to begin with, to be honest, and Klarna was taking advantage of them. Capitalism again. But I'm not going to be giving y'all money and y'all out here talking to me. I'm not doing that. We need to request more. The bottle service has ruined the club experience because they want to make money off of everything. And they recognize that we, for the most part, society, are more interested in having a moment on social media, which is why you have bottle service and everybody's VIP. The illusion of everybody's VIP. It needs to be a select few, but you can be VIP for a price. And we find out a lot of these clubs that do bottle service are not even using the liquor that they're giving us in the bottle. Like, there's a conversation about a lot of these clubs pouring cheaper liquor in the bottle and just resealing it, taking advantage of us. So we're not going to fall.
Savvy.
I told you he's telling everything, but it's true. It's true. There was a brewery here that was outed for doing that here in Boston called Trillium Brewing. It was a couple of years ago. There was an article, an expose that was written about them, that they were cheating the customers by watering down like the beer or putting things in there that weren't supposed to be. Yes, honey. So that's why I'm like, it's so true. Like, he's right about the killing the club vibe too, because I mean, back in the day, like when, you know, in my college days, when I was going like clubbing and stuff like that, the bottle service thing, that was more like like he said, like a VIP stuff, if it was even offered at the nightclub. But some of these clubs, what they have done now is they've made it so that, well, anybody can get that VIP treatment and can have the table and the bottle service for a price. So to his point, like, you have to pay all this money to get it. And I think he's right that they know people want to put this stuff on social media and say, well, look at me, look at how I'm living, like that type of thing. But it has ruined the club experience, because when I went clubbing, I didn't care about a table, a bottle service. I just wanted to dance. I went clubbing to dance. I didn't go there to meet nobody. I didn't go there to go have these tables and bottle service. Like, we would go out there to dance. And now it's like even the club circuit, it has become more like bougie. You know what I mean? Like, when I used to go clubbing, typical outfit, black pants. Some of us used to wear tube tops back then. Black pants, cute little top, and those little Steve Madden black sliding shoes. That was it. Now it's like you going out to the club, like you gotta like get all, you know, dolled up and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like for 2 hours. Because by the time you get through the line, you're going to be in there for about 2 hours. And then the lights come on and that song Closing Time plays. And then you know it's time to leave. Then you get to see what everybody really look like. But that's the thing. Like they kind of ruined like that experience. I will tell you something else about bars too. If it's a bar and they have these little high top tables and they have the bar, but it's called such and such bar, why do you have to order food to sit at the high top table? It's stuff like that. Like, again, to JB's point, is capitalism. It's another way for them to make more money. So you can either sit at the bar, which has with the little stools that have no back to the seat. So if you're not comfortable sitting up straight like that for a couple hours, that's not going to be for you. So the way that they get you and get more money is they say, well, you can sit at the table if you order food. So now you went from I came here to have a drink with my friend to I am also going out to dinner here with my friend just so I can sit on a chair that has a back.
Mm-hmm. Yup.
I'm keeping it real. And I also said this before too about cover charge. Now, yes, cover charge was a thing when I was, back in my days, but they would also have ladies' night. And so a lot of times, like us girls, like we would usually try to go out on ladies' night because it was free. It was like ladies get in free, dollar drinks, that type of thing. But the highest cover that we ever had was like $5. And that's if we went like, on like that Friday or Saturday or whatever. But I even nowadays, there are like these bars or like if there's a special event, like if it's St. Patrick's Day here, everybody charging a cover. A bar that you can go to any other day of the year that don't charge anything, got the same food, got the same drinks. On St. Patrick's Day weekend, they're charging $20, $30 just for you to get in the door. Now, nothing improved about this place. So why are we paying more money to get in here? You know what I mean? Just because of the day that it is. Or you have these nightclubs now, even out near like some of the colleges, because there's a lot of colleges here in Boston, where it's like $20 cover, $30 cover. Why are you charging $20, $30 just to get in the door? Because if you go in there, 9 times out of 10, you're going to buy a drink or buy someone else a drink or something, right? Mm-hmm. So why do you have to pay $20 to walk into the door? That's another ripoff. Yep.
And at the gay clubs, there was no ladies' night.
This is true. But I mean, they have finding more ways to make money. And then you got to like do the math, because if you pay $20 to get in and you don't get through the line and through the door until like 11:30, well, last call is 1:30. So
depends on where you're at though.
Well, yeah, well, a lot of places here on the East Coast, last call be about 1. They close around about 2. Most places, I know, not Miami. New York can be kind of finicky depending on where you're going. But the point is this: is it worth paying $20 for you to get in there, and then who knows how long it takes for you to get a drink, and then next thing you know, you turn around, the lights come on, and it's time to go home. Closing time.
Yep, and there ain't nobody there around 10:30. It don't start popping until 11:30.
Exactly.
Trying to get into Parliament House, and next thing you know, you paying. Back in my day, back in the olden days, you get in at $10 cover charge, and then go over to see the drag show, tip them $5 when they're on stage. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, it was a fun time, but at the same time, it's like, damn, let's spend that much. And don't let me get a Long Island iced tea. Long Island iced tea, you're spending about between $15 and $18 just for a Long Island iced tea. Lord, Lord. And that's the only thing that can get me lit, because they actually add alcohol to it. Oh, perish the thought. Anything else, they a shot to them was just a drop. Anyway.
All for the Black exceptionalism and all of that. At least I'm not. And you shouldn't either. We should be asking more. Y'all want us to come in and support you based off of being Black owned, and then y'all are taking advantage of us and as well as your employees. And one thing I've always come to understand is once you steal and take from your employees, they're going to take from you even more. Ask me how I know. It's the reason why I don't shop at certain grocery stores. There's a certain grocery store I refuse to go to because y'all don't pay y'all employees. So I know some ribs that's been sitting in that basket for a minute, they're going to put it back out. They don't care. Same thing with no shade. Old Lady Gang. I told you all that restaurant's going to close down. Candace restaurant, Old Lady Gang could not keep employees long.
Pause.
He was overworking them. That's what they said a lot.
Now that restaurant was founded by Candy from the Real Housewives of Atlanta, who before she was on that show, she was one of the members of the female R&B group Escape. So this is someone Candy already had money. She's very well known, especially in Atlanta, but she's very well known. So if someone who is a celebrity, if their restaurant didn't succeed, what does that tell you about that industry?
Yep.
A lot of them who worked there said they were being overworked and not paid much, to the point that Old Lady Gang was charging almost $20 for a margarita with cheap well tequila. And y'all have us packed in these restaurants like sardines. Like, I'm so close to the next person, we all might as well be on a date. Matter of fact, make this the open table for all of us to sit down and get to know each other. Like, y'all are doing all of these things, and then y'all want to come out and ball hard. I'm so confused. Y'all are exploiting us and your workers, and you don't deserve to be open. You're not entitled to be a successful restaurant. You're not entitled to that. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve. If you have to exploit workers and do all that, you don't need to be open. I don't feel sorry for y'all when y'all close. There's one club in Atlanta I cannot wait till it close down. I hope I'm alive long enough to see it close down because they take advantage of us all the time. And they're not the only one, but the whole idea, because it's about greed, which makes you no different if you're white, Black, queer, or any of these things, because a lot of y'all don't care about community. You only want to promote it as its community, but y'all are stealing from said community to move and live away from community.
Wait. They want to move away from the community. That's why they're taking advantage of community. Sabs, please reflect on this a little bit before you have to go. You're muted.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. He really took it home. Like it's true though. It's true. You want to exploit said community to move away from said community. Isn't that messed up?
Yeah. Reminds me of some of these hip hop artists. Reminds me of some of these R&B artists where they make money off the community and then they get out of Dodge. And then they start living in gated communities. And then all their neighbors are, a little bit more deficient in melanin.
Yep. Darius said, that's why I stay in the house.
You and me both, Darius. Oh, gosh. That was, that was bars from him. All right, let's finish this up.
I have to pop out. It's 6:30.
Okay, so what you got going on for this evening?
All right, so we got 5 news stories, and we have the panel, the healthcare panel, with JB is going to be a part of. Also, Chanda from Beauty and the Boomer. They're going to talk about their healthcare experiences, and Jordan Sheraton's also going to be a part of that panel to give the Luigi Mangione perspective. So we're going to start off with the panel, and then we have the 5 news stories.
All right, Sabs, I'll see you in a little bit.
Bye, JB.
Bye-bye. All right, let's finish this up because I really want to finish this. And then we'll go into the chat and we'll go to the patrons. All right.
I don't like these people. Y'all show us. Y'all show us when having the police harass Black patrons. How y'all talk to folks because y'all are tolerating them long enough to get their dollars.
Ooh,
that's my issue. So I hope this is a lesson for a lot of us to pay attention to how these people show up, Let me know your experiences in the comments. This might not be the only video I do. I might do a part 2. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk y'all later. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Oh, but yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you right now. I honestly don't think that just because it's Black owned, that means it's the end all be all. Just because here's the thing. I do support Black owned businesses, but you also have to be willing to give back to the community, and not just mean give back where you know, make things cheaper, or extremely cheap for us and things like that. No, that's not what I mean, right? Because, you're also working, you're also, earning your own money, right? But at the same time, are you exploiting your workers? Are you exploiting your customers? Because then that makes me, I'm being real. All right, I'm gonna say it. If you're exploiting your workers and you're exploiting your customers and you're Black, that's some coon ass shit. That's what it is. It's coonish because that's what the white capitalists do. So if you're doing that to be a Black capitalist, well, guess what? That's coon. That's turncoat. That's exactly what it is. Because it's like, oh, so you only care about the community so much as to get $1 out of us. And then on top of that, if you're actually for Black people and you're hiring Black people in order to support us, but you're not willing to give us a living wage. See, this is why I say we need to have a culture of more worker cooperatives as Black people. We need to walk away from capitalism because that's how our ancestors wound up here in the first place. Capitalism. So why would in the world will we embrace a system that enslaved us in the first place? That don't make no damn sense. I'm gonna make a statement. It's gonna be a line in the sand. People are gonna get mad at me, but it is what it is. No properly educated, self-respecting Black person should ever support capitalism. I said what I said, and because you're supporting exploitation. And before anybody wants to come into my comments and say they do, well, buying and selling is capitalism. No, baby, that's called commerce. Commerce is the ability to buy and sell for goods and services using a currency. It's called commerce. You need to learn the difference between commerce and capitalism. They're not exactly the same. You can have commerce and a socialist system. It exists. So that's the thing. A lot of times people don't realize that. And the thing is, like, this is why I say worker owned, operated, and democratically ran will be so much better for us as a community. So much better. And not just us as a Black community, every community would do so much better. Because guess what? If we're going to support each other, we can't put ourselves above one another. And then we can also affect the supply chain. Shout out to you, Roger. I know you're watching. We also got to affect the supply chain because who we get our supplies from, whether it be if we're working in a restaurant, it'll be our working supplies, our kitchen supplies, whether we get the food orders from, if we get our food supplies, things like that. Well, we could influence them down the line also to be cooperatives. So then let's say you have a farm that's a cooperative farm that you get some of your produce from, right? The people who build the stoves or make the pots and pans or make the utensils, right? Maybe we can influence them if there's enough of us for them to be worker cooperatives. I'm just saying. We could change the system and we can also change the culture. And by the way, what culture influences this country the most? It's Black culture. So if we change our culture to be more worker friendly, worker centric, we can influence the culture around the world. We already did it with so many other different things. We can do it in the workplace too. I'm just saying. But I'm just saying. All right, go ahead and give a like to the stream. Thank you so very much to everybody for joining in. Let's get into, shout out to the patrons, and then we'll get into the chat. So shout out to the patrons on Patreon. Without you guys, we would not be able to do this work. You guys make this work beautiful, possible, and as well as worthwhile. Why do we do this work? Well, because number one, you all need to be informed about what is going on in the world, why it's going on, and how we can change it. And it's not just presenting the problems, but also presenting the solutions. But we're also not just telling you, we're also trying to practice what we preach. This is why we do mutual aid on the ground as well. Just as to let you guys remember, Rome is raising, he's trying to get 20,000 diapers. He's going to be distributing these diapers and supplies for the people in Chicago. He's going to be working with the Hampton House. So if you guys would like to, you guys can look up Rome on Twitter and donate for his mutual aid project that he's doing. This is a worthwhile that we're trying to do in order to help the people on the ground, because we know that it's not going to happen through these politicians. It's going to happen through us. So thank you so very much to everybody who also contributes to us and help bolster the channel so that we are able to keep doing this. But also thank you so much for helping out your communities and allowing us to be influential in, helping our communities out as well. And we encourage you guys to do more mutual aid and building dual power yourselves. So thank you very much for that. Let's get into the rest of the chats. I'm going to start off with to see if we have any Rumble rants. And then if we have any Rumble rants, then we'll get into that. If we don't, then we will move on to the Rockfin to check and see on that. Wait. Okay, looks like we are good on Rumble. Okay, now let's go into the Rockfin chat. So I know Roger got some things to say. I can see the hamster wheel running in his head right now. He's got ideas. All right. Oh, wait. I know exactly what I did. There we go. JB. All right. So let's start off. Thank you very much for this, Roger. He says, you see this, Sab, brother gets his kidney and he forgets his friends. JB, don't DM back anymore. I'd be like, hey, Jay, I got a story that you might like to do. Dude be like, man, get your bump ass Presley, no money, having ass out of here. I ain't got time for no broke ass Negroes running around here looking like a low budget Big Daddy King on Snap and Crack. Big Daddy King on Snap and Crack. Why do yourself like that, brother? Don't do that. You know what? I would like to see you on the dance floor. I think you can get down like Big Daddy Kane. Anyways, he says, just kidding. We all talk today. Jokes. Look, when you called me a teddy bear looking, hold it. It was a teddy bear Reuben stuttered looking ass Negro. Bro, that sent me to the far plane. That was too funny. Anyway, Roger continues, says, now you know how us comic book collectors feel when movies deviating from the comics. To answer your question, no, it is not enough for us to own the business. The business occupies space in the building as commercial tenants. Own that too. The building sits on land. If we don't own anything else, then we should own that land. What do Dr. J, Public Enemy, the Murphys, Howard Stern, and me have in common? We're all from Roosevelt, Long Island. He said, you guys forgot to mention visits from the government. Food inspectors don't play. Late 89, 90, I worked at the best barbecue restaurant ever. Check this out. We had mice running around the restaurant. Customers knew it, yet kept coming back. I seen them didn't care, still ate there. That's how good the place was. After the health department shut it down, it took a decade before I found another that matched. However, fashion like food is a very unstable business. You fire today and gone tomorrow. Just ask Cross Colors, Hilfiger, Carl Kane, Woolwear, Fat Farm, Rockaware. But branch out to other things. It doesn't have to be anything sexy and extravagant. Just something as boring as making rubber bands, pencils, pens, paperclip, thumbtacks. Get yourself a government contract. You'd be set. Just don't overcharge the government. Although you may get away with it for decades, eventually it'll catch up to you. Sabby club closing 2 hours later. You need to be in New York. We close at 4 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. Yes, ladies' night. When they don't charge women, they're overcharging men to make up for it. Oh, yup. And here's the thing. If I'm going to a club, the regular club, I'm not interested in the ladies, so why are you overcharging me? You know what I'm saying? I'm not there for the ladies. Like, I mean, like, hey girl, what's up? Good to see you. All right. High five. All right. All right. Let me get on the dance floor. Trifling ass. Anywho, let's get into the rest of the chat. I'm going to start off with super chats and then we will continue. Okay. So I'm going to start off with the super chats. So we're going to go. All right. So thank you very much for this, Roger. He says, JB, translation, stop trying to be the head Negro in charge, Big Willie. Look. That's basically it. Like, we don't need to be the head Negro in charge. We just need to collectively own. Like, we got to stop trying to be the head in charge. Like, we got to stop that. We got to focus more on community rather than hierarchy. That's one thing that we need to do. Thank you very much for this very generous super chat, Blueser. Blueser1. Very much appreciated. That means a lot. That definitely helps us, especially in the long run, especially keeping up the channel. All right, so let's go on to Timothy. Thank you very much for this super sticker. I'm sorry. Thank you very much to Timothy. All right, and then, all right, so I got a couple of chats I want to read first. We have Red 6 says Blade was canceled due to changes to the script. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. And then Timothy's like, did y'all talk about T'Challa's son? No, because I'm still irritated about that because I was on the side. I used to be on the side of, just, allow T'Challa to die. But now I'm like, you know what? They should have just recast him. Because if they can recast Rhodey, they can recast T'Challa. You know what I'm saying? Gio says Black Panther was my last Marvel movie. I was already burned out and sour on it from starting to recognize Disney Marvel as propaganda and seeing a literal CIA guy as a good guy killed it for me. Yeah, that's the only other thing too. It's like once you start to know, it's like you start to look at it with a critical eye. Jay says the myth and propaganda of Black buying power. Because here's the thing, it's like I think it was somewhere north of like well over like I think it's like $1.2 trillion of buying power that the Black community has. But the problem is that, and people are like, well, we should start buying Black. And I'm like, here's the problem. There are areas where there's barely any Black businesses. So we have no choice but to go. And a lot of the businesses that we have to go to are big chain stores, big chain restaurants. We don't have anything else. You know what I'm saying? And then if you do have a Black business, but they're exploiting, the customers and the workers, it makes people go like, why am I going to go to this, Black barbecue joint when I can just go to Sonny's? Especially if Sonny's has better quality and better service. You know what I mean? It's like you're competing with them too. So that's what makes it tough. Timothy says, not without capital and the ability to employ and scale. Yeah, that's also true. Killier Grigor says, Dave's Hot Chicken is awesome and Black owned, not franchised. Luke Carlos says, Black capitalism cannot thrive under white supremacy, even when it can compete, which is highly limited itself. I defer to Black Wall Street. Right? See what happened there? Timmy says it has to be more about the business for business owners. You're not going to make it as a capitalist purist. Red 6 says, Kill your Grigorous, hate to bring it to you, but Dave should sold to Subway. Ooh. That's the problem. A lot of times, you have these big companies, these corporations, they will buy the black business because they'll flash that cash. Like, here, we'll give you an offer you can't refuse. Next thing you know, that black business owner is like, all right, I sold the business. Bye. Right? Sean Rocker says, Olive Garden for the win. See, now I want some pasta. Damn it. Timothy says, I can look past some food quality for great service. It depends. It depends. What do you think about restaurants without servers requesting tips? I don't think that servers. I honestly think that number one, okay. Here's how I think. And I used to be back at the house. I was line cook. I think number one, servers should be paid a living wage. We should no longer do tipping. Number two, just like you grade businesses, with reviews, I think you should leave a review for a server. And so based on the, culmination of reviews, that server, if they're continuing to do a bad job, they get less tables or they get less hours based on the less tables, right? Because the thing is, like, you're going to kill the business if you're not doing that well. But at the same time, that's from a top-down, version. But if it's worker owned, then guess what? That server is going to make sure, because they're also part owner, they're going to make sure that that service is good, because they're also sharing in that revenue from the business. So they're making, a living wage, plus they're sharing in a revenue share for the entire business, which means that if the entire business does well, they do well. So that means it's incumbent upon them to make sure that their service is great. They can't rest on their laurels. They can't rest on the laurels of other service in order to make sure that the business is doing good. They have to also, it's a team effort. And so this is why I say worker cooperatives are probably the best version that you can do, especially for like restaurants and stuff. Shout out to Greg Bruce. He says $13 to $16 is cheap for calamari in the Boston area. See that? I mean, that's probably true, but at the same time, you guys also have a higher cost of living too. So, you're probably out there, so I believe it. But I'm in Orlando, Florida. $13 to $16 for some calamari. Better be some damn good calamari. I'm just saying. Let me see. Hinkle says, in France, 15% always added to bills. We are exceptional. If it were exceptional service, you add more. That's the way it should be. I say the server should make a livable wage as a tip. And like, if you want to give them some extra money on the side, I mean, fine, but I don't think that they should. I don't think it should be expected or even encouraged. I think they should just make a livable wage. But if you just want to like slip them a 20, for great service, I'm not going to discourage it. You know what I mean? But I think the servers shouldn't have to work for tips. But they, that's just how I see it. Same with tips. Same with servers. If tips are left, 40% goes to the kitchen, bar, and staff. Marlo says, the black-owned business I know in Cali show love to black people, throwing in little freebies and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe their business wasn't going so good. I don't know. My thing is like, that's nice. I think that it's fine to do that. But just make sure your service and the way you treat your workers is great. And then everything else will, follow through. But at the same time, if you want to do special things for, especially like your consistent customers and stuff like that, then that's cool too. Stoopson says, y'all heard of Busboys and Poets in Baltimore, or the Tandem in Milwaukee? Tandem closed because of COVID. No, I want to start traveling more, so I'll probably try to get out, more when I can. Red Six says people go to the club and sit around and mug each other all night. That's hilarious. That's probably true though. Iridescent Dragonfly says to me, grading a server is paying into the evils of capitalism. Misty, we need to keep our focus on how to transition to socialism. My thing is like, this is why I say, you know, if you're still within a, you know, top down, that's the only other thing I can think of. That's like the middle of the road, you know, like the moderate position. My position is a worker cooperative so that the workers make a living wage, and whatever extra they can make is predicated on the teamwork that's being done by the entire restaurant as a whole, so that they can keep the service and they can keep the quality up. That's what I think. So, yeah. And then one more, we'll do one more. Under says here in New York City, I think if the word gets around that servers are getting more, it might affect the tip, which is the main part of the livelihood. Maybe I'm wrong. New York City is a good tipping city. The thing is like, I think that it should be influenced in order so that servers won't have to rely on tips. I don't think servers should rely on tips at all, because to me, it's not fair. Like, but at the same time, some servers may go, well, I prefer tips because I actually make more money off of tips than I would even if I got a living wage. But if they were worker owned, then of course, I think that kind of it's like a happy medium, right? If it's a cooperative restaurant. But yeah, so thank you very much for that. All right, everybody. So just to let you guys know, I talked about this on my channel. So just to let you guys know, running into some issues. The government basically cut my disability benefits almost in half. So if you guys, you know, if I seem a little bit more stressed lately, that's why. If you guys would like to contribute to, you know, me actually, you know, being able to survive and do a little bit better in regards to dealing with post-transplant, then here you go. I just put the link in the chat. I'll put it in one time. But yeah, they cut my and my mother's benefits. We're on a fixed income. So just to let you guys know that. I put it in the chat. But yeah. And so with that being said, I'm going to head on out because I got to get ready to go on Sabby's show. But plus, I'm hungry. I got to grab me something to eat. Might give me some string cheese. Who knows? We'll see. Anywho, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And thank you so very much to everybody for all of the love here on RBN. And please make sure to stay tuned for the clips that come out tomorrow, as well as over the weekend. And then I'll see you guys on Sunday for the JB show, so we can have a conversation there as well. So, like I always say, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Do all the things if you got them. And I'll see you later. Mwah, forehead kisses, because that's the kind of guy I am. I'll see y'all in the next one. Deuces, Bruces.